through what the process looks like with Mendix from its kind of inception of a feature to a delivery of that feature.
There's different phases of development. We build it all. It's done in Studio Pro. That's just the IDE, or integrated development environment. I believe that's what that stands for. I haven't actually checked that acronym in a long time. But so if you work in Java, you have Eclipse, you have JetBrains, you have, honestly, even Visual Studio Code is one at this point. But the Mendix Studio Pro is the exact same thing. It's an all-in-one environment where you build all your features in. That could be anything as much as I'm going to build a page that shows this data. I'm going to build a page where you can create a new record, type in some attributes. So like maybe you're creating a record of a person that's applying for something in your system. You give them a name, you can take their contact information, whatever you want. And then how that's managed is you commit it to the history. This is just more version control stuff, but it really comes into play when you have multiple people working on a project. So if you're by yourself and you're working in your office and this is just, you are the only person on this team, it's not a huge deal. Like, you commit it, you don't have to worry about someone changed something that fundamentally conflicts with what you made. That's always a nightmare. But if you're working by yourself, not a big deal. But when you are working on big teams, which on a Mendix project, you could be from just yourself to 50 people to only 5 other people. It's just like any other work environment that you could be in as a software engineer. Yeah, you want to make sure that there is some type of control that's just not blanketly overwriting things that other people did. So a general situation that I like to think of is if you have an environment like a table that is called dog, and one of the attributes is number of legs. If I change it to 4 and someone else changes it to 5 and we both commit at the same time, that's an irreconcilable difference between that. It's either got to be 4 or it's got to be 5. So that's the type of situation I'm talking about when you can make a commit that causes an issue. But when you're working with multiple people and you can make individual commits, it makes that a lot easier to handle. So when we build, we're making sure that we are committing in small chunks, which Mendix is very, very good at. And we are making sure that everything is clean. So once you build something like our dog table or our page to create a person record, then we want to decide to actually put it out there. So the next phase of that is actually building the deployment package. So that's where our code base is everything that we've written, but it doesn't do anything by itself. What we do is now build a deployment package. And this is our chunk of code in like one easy folder. If you want to think of it, it's the biggest zip folder you've ever seen. But it's a single thing that you can click on in your directory that has everything needed to get this project actually doing something. So after we build it, then we actually need to run it. We're going to put it into an environment. So if you're in Mendix, it's typically going to be a Mendix hosted environment. But of course, Mendix allows you to host self-host too. The project I work on self-hosts. So we have some unique challenges and other things that you might not run into in like a Mendix Cloud hosted environment. But when you deploy that, it's basically, it deploys to the cloud, the actual environment. So in this case, when you go to the URL, like the website link that the app points to, it's going to host what you just put up there, the next, like the most recent build. So this is pretty convenient, especially how Mendix handles it, is you have a really, it's pretty straightforward deployment center. You can see all your packages. It hosts all the packages you've made. You can delete ones you want, but it'll keep a record of a lot of them going far back. So if there's any instance where you're like, oh, this latest build had some, we did something wrong in it, we need to go back. It's just as simple as clicking a button to revert to the previous release, or you can select a different package entirely and put it up there. So it's almost like modular design and how you want to get things up on the environment to actually make it accessible.